Okay, so here we all are. This is the official party for the opening of, not opening, the launch of the book. And we have a mascot for this. Those who just came in have not seen the mascot. This is the mascot, and he's a banjo playing alligator. So at the end, he will say, "See you later, alligator." And then everybody can yell
Oh,
in a while, crocodile, hello. All right. This is very serious. You realize that. So, Joan, do you want to be the MC? Would you like to MC this, or do you want me to do it?
I hadn't planned to, but if uh
If,
if you
or do you
want me
want me
to,
to?
I will be. I mean,
I can,
I would, no matter who the MC is, including you, Gloria, should just thank
well,
you so much for this vision you had 8 years ago with all your
it was more
educate
like nine,
your
I
your
think.
background and your life, and you brought this all together and you brought us all together. It's
I
just
love
brilliant.
you people.
Yeah,
I just
thank
love
you.
all of you.
Yay.
So,
Yay, Gloria.
this is not a me project. This is an us project. But thank you, thank you. No, I mean, someone had to have the urge to get going, but then everything after that, that was one little spark, and then 99.999 is everybody else's stuff. So I can be I'm not good at timekeeping. Who's good at timekeeping? I assume you all want to get out of here in about an hour, so.
You know, if somebody wants to keep time to help Gloria moderate us, because I wasn't prepared to
I don't
moderate, but
have the kind of thing, some people have like a stopwatch thing. Anyway, but let's
you
try
have
to.
a stopwatch in your phone. Anybody with an Apple phone or somebody could just tap the timer in their phone. Any volunteers?
I mean, I
I-
can do it, except I have to tap out early because I have another commitment later, but I can do it until like 3:30 or so.
That's okay. That's
Good,
okay.
good. Yeah.
Okay, let me go grab my phone.
Okay. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna introduce ourselves, and while she's getting her phone, I normally I would go last, but I'll just go first to cover for, oh, she didn't have to go far. All right. All righty, I guess I will go with the order that I see you in your group appearance here. And I will start then with Kathy.
Okay, and I'll set my stopwatch for 2 minutes.
Okay, Kathy, go for it.
All right. So my name's Kathy Basar. I'm from Pittsburgh. I've lived here all my life, and the idea of stories from steel towns really appealed to me because Pittsburgh is the steel city. So my family's been here for about 3 generations. So I think I always say Pittsburgh is not just in my heart, but it's probably in my DNA by now. I have one published novel. It's called The Saint's Mistress. It's a historical novel, and I have had my fiction and nonfiction published in several other literary journals and newspapers and magazines. But this is the first time my fiction's been anthologized, and I'm grateful for the opportunity and interested in hearing everybody else's stories. And that was 43 seconds. So
That's
stop
good.
the
Let's try
stopwatch
to
and
all
let somebody else go.
aim for 43. How about you next, Joan?
Okay, well, we'll talk about everyone's story. We'll give you a chance to summarize stories. I had to read them all, I think, as Karen and Gloria did, because we were line editing them. So, I live in New York City. I've been here like 50 years, except for a stint in Washington, D.C. I went to St. John the Baptist grade school in Whiting and Clark High School. Woo! I was the head baton twirler, the newspaper editor, the valedictorian, et cetera, et cetera. But after all that, I still haven't published one book. This is my first fiction in print, actually, and I have a couple novels in the works because I went to Northwestern, studied newspaper journalism, if anybody remembers what a newspaper looks like. Sorry, Joe. Joe Pete is on. I still subscribe to the Northwest Indiana Times. I worked at the Hammond Times summers while I was in college at Northwestern. Then I went to Syracuse and I studied radio, TV, film for a master's. And now I'm studying fiction writing at Sarah Lawrence, which can take an hour and a half to get to, even though it's only 12 miles away, because, hey, I said I live on the Upper West Side. And this has been very exciting for me. And later I'm going to give you some hints on how we can really promote ourselves and these stories, not even so much ourselves as these precious stories that really need to be told. Because I went to as I said, I went to St. John's the Baptist. There was the Standard Oil fire while I was, a kid there. Went to Clark High School, and they never told us what went on at Federated Metals, at Inland Steel, at Standard Oil, at the soap factory. They never told us. We never talked about it. And through the writings, I've read things that happened a mile away from where I was growing up. I heard for the first time how difficult it is for a young guy to come into a steel mill, and compete against the fire. So this is a really special book. This is a very special book. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joan. Okay, we're moving along now. Valia, we want Valia to tell his story next.
Hello, my name is Hardarshan Walia. I retired as a staff scientist at Inland Steel Research Laboratories in East Chicago, where I worked for 22 years. And my background is I'm a geologist who did PhD from Boston University. And I write poetry, stories, and essays, and that's all about me.
Are you still in East Chicago? Did you say?
I retired from there, but I live in Highland.
In where?
Highland, Indiana.
Oh, Highland. Okay.
Right.
Thank you. The poet.
Who's speaking, not stealing. If you're not speaking, please mute. Okay. Next we have Patrick Finn.
Hi there. My name is Patrick Finn. I publish under the name Patrick Michael Finn because there is already a Patrick Finn that writes books about speech pathology, and I write fiction books, so didn't want to confuse anybody. I was born and raised in Joliet, Illinois, which was before it became a Rust Belt city, and it is the westernmost city of what constitutes the Rust Belt now. So I consider myself.
Dude, that's totally fine.
So look at my notes. I sent you like 4 emails.
Could we
Thank you.
mute?
The guy
Anybody?
that died in the Medal of Honor winner in Vietnam, there's a few things in there.
Yeah.
One of the ladies that won basketball championship for BC, her first name, I believe, might be misspelled. Just look in the email. It might have one else.
Coming from you, Mike, Patrick,
There's 1 or 2 examples in my emails of where.
is that somebody else talking?
Yeah, that's somebody
That
else.
might be
talking.
Joan. I'm gonna have to do
So
some.
one day, there, just double check the spelling.
I try to mute.
And it's,
Is that, no, it's not Joan. Who could it be?
I think you got it. So
I didn't get it. Whoever it was, I think figured out that they were not on.
It was Joe. He might be at work or something. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, he may be at work. All right, so Patrick, continue. I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. So let's see. When I was 16, my family moved to the American Southwest in the California desert. So I've been in the American Southwest for about 35 years. So I'm not much of a Rust Belt guy anymore, but as they say, you can take the kid out of the Rust Belt. You can't take the Rust Belt out of the kid. So I got my MFA. I was educated at the University of California at Riverside for my undergrad, and I majored in writing. And then I got my MFA down at the University of Arizona in Tucson. And I currently live in Mesa, Arizona. I'm married to the poet Valerie Bandura. We have 1 son. I've published 3 books of prose fiction. The first was a novella called A Martyr for Susie Kasazovich, which was set in Joliet. The second is a story collection called From the Darkness Right Under Our Feet, which is also set in Joliet. And it's actually the collection from where my Children of Steel story, Smokestack Polka, comes from. Then my third book is called A Place for Snakes to Breed, And that's actually set in the American Southwest because I figured if I've lived here at the time for 30 years, I should start writing about it. So those are my 3 books. I'm knee deep into a 4th book, a novel, and a 5th book, a collection of stories. Should be finished within the next couple of years. I currently teach writing at Chandler Gilbert Community College in Chandler, Arizona, just outside of Phoenix. I've been in higher education teaching creative writing for 25 years now.
That's 2 minutes, Patrick.
Oh, okay.
And I did stop it when we had that little bit of
Oh, you were
somebody else
good.
talking,
Very
so.
good. Okay, so this is now moving on to,
I have a quick question for Patrick, real quick. Patrick, how did you hear about Children of Steel?
This is interesting. My chair at the time, my department chair, got some notification from Gloria, and he passed it to me. And I thought, okay.
yeah.
Oh,
that's a
cool,
small world. Okay, so I think we're up to Karen.
Oh, okay. So I have the mic. So I am Karen Banks Pearson. I'm the author of Granny's Traveling Trunk. Gloria and I have been friends since 4th or 5th grade at Franklin Elementary in East Chicago. And we got reacquainted at our 50th high school reunion. And learned of each other's interest in writing. So as I said, I grew up in East Chicago. I still consider that home, but I lived most of my adult life in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I married and had 2 children, and went to college, got an undergraduate degree in management, and then off to the University of Denver for a master's in library science and information management. And then returned to Milwaukee and got involved in nonprofit administration. And after the kids went off to college, I decided I wanted to explore the East Coast. So I worked in Baltimore for about 14 years, again in nonprofit administration, until my first grandchild was born, which brought me to Frisco, Texas. So that is where I am now. I have been here 5.5 years. In terms of writing, it's always been a first love of mine. Gloria and I had wonderful reading teachers and wrote our first papers in the 4th or 5th grade. And so if I had a second undergraduate degree, it probably would be in something to do with English literature or writing. Granny's Traveling Trunk got started really. Well, I'll save that.
That's 2 minutes.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
2 minutes,
Okay.
Karen.
All right, good.
All right, thank you, Karen. And now, yeah, we have more on that. She's my oldest, well, one of my oldest friends here, and the other one is Sharon. Sharon Hotko was in the next incubator from me in the hospital. So I think she counts as the oldest friend.
Ah,
Yeah,
yes.
really. Okay, John, do you have something here you want to share?
Sure. Hi, I'm John Zostek. I was born in East Gary, Indiana, and we moved to a new subdivision called Etna, which was part of Gary, Indiana. And as a teenager, I worked at Gary Works, U.S. Steel, and but most of my career was in the theater, 50 years in the theater. And at one point, I had my own theater company in Evanston, Illinois, Joan, and I was asked by a consortium of steel mills that and the union to direct a number of short plays that had been written by steel workers, and they had somehow knew that I had worked in the mills, and I said, yeah, I'll do it, provided that the actors are steel workers. And they said, okay. So we trained the actors, and we mounted it in Hammond, Indiana, and eventually took it to New York City. And it was called Steel and Roses, and it's actually on the internet. And I'll put a link in the chat. So I currently live in Northern California, and I'm really grateful to Gloria. I also work on another one of Gloria's projects. That's the science fiction production group for YouTube called Planet Zoom Players. And so you should check that one out too if you haven't already. Thanks.
All right. Yeah, John and I overlap quite a bit, you know, constantly running across each other. Okay, Sharon, my oldest friend. I have to say Sharon is my oldest friend because we were born 4 days apart in May. And I think our hospital stays overlapped in the same hospital. Can you get over that? So, my oldest friend.
Oh,
Sharon.
God. How do I get on here? I don't know how to do this.
Which,
Oh,
which
you can
hospital
hear
was it? Which hospital? I'm
St.
writing, taking
Catherine's.
St.
St.
Catherine's. Okay,
Catherine's
thank you.
Hospital. Yeah. Sharon, we could hear you. It was okay.
Okay, you can hear me, but so
Well,
can you hear me now?
we can't see you, but that's okay. Just go on and introduce yourself.
If you want us to see you, Sharon, press this video button in the lower left hand of your screen.
That's right. Yeah, maybe that will work if you can find that button. If you're on a phone, it might be different.
Yeah.
Oh, it might stick for different if you're on a phone, yeah.
Can you
Yeah,
hear me still?
yeah, we
We
can
can
still
hear you
yeah,
just
we can still
fine.
hear
So
you.
go ahead, Sharon.
Just go
Okay.
ahead.
My name is Sharon Hotko, and like Gloria says, I'm her oldest friend. She means a lot to me, and she got me into this project, and it just gets more interesting all the time. And she got me interested in writing again, so that's nice. So I'm happy. I appreciate it. I'm glad she did that for me.
Yeah, and your story was fantastic. It was called Toe Picks and Hoarfrost. I found it very moving.
Oh, I'm glad.
It was very moving, and I also actually I kind of know the people that were being fictionalized there, so it didn't hurt.
Yeah.
Sharon, where do you live now?
Well, I live in Monticello, Indiana, but right now I'm in Florida, in Holiday, Florida, and that's going to stay here for a little bit, and having some medical tests, and because I'm getting old, that's what happens. You go to Florida, but winter in the harbor was just unbearably cold. But every now and then there would be this temperature change, and it was just like the snow would glisten, and it wasn't cold, and the moon was full, and it was just beautiful. And that's what I remember most about winters in the harbor. So.
Okay, Sharon. Well, that's great. I think we've covered Sharon and all the others. So maybe I should go into the updates and just keep it very brief. And have you all received your announcements that now we have 3 scheduled library book launches? We have one in Whiting on June. This will all come out to you with pictures. I didn't have time to make a slide. June 1st at 2 p.m. at the Whiting Public Library is our one that we're having in Whiting. This is not in order. But then we, earlier than that, we have 2 Pennsylvania book launches. We have March 20th at my time here in Arizona, it's 10:30. So that must be 11:30, 12, like 1:30 there. 1:30 in Mount, oh yeah, so our person, our man in Havana, our woman in Pennsylvania is correcting me here. So yeah, we got one that's coming up at 1:30 on the 20th of March, and then on the 23rd, which is a Sunday, there's one at, is this right, 3 p.m.?
Yes.
3 p.m.
Yes.
And the one on the 20th, which is a Wednesday, is a hybrid, which means any of you can go.
Yes.
I don't think the one at Homestead on Sunday is a hybrid, as far as I know.
If anybody wants to zoom in to the Mount Lebanon Library one on March 20th, just let Gloria know, and she can connect with me. I'm hoping to have you on there too, Gloria, for a few minutes to introduce the project.
we will need a login. So if you want
Yeah.
to just give me the login, I can put it to our very limited list of people. They won't abuse it.
Right, right. I'll definitely send you the login as soon as I have it, but I would want to know ahead of time how many authors wanted to participate. So
Right, yeah.
we can kind of make
Be
a,
sure to let- Oh, here
I don't
comes
know.
one more. Here comes
Yeah.
one
Can you-
more.
You missed me,
Who did I miss?
Barb from,
Barb. Oh, Barb. Okay, we'll go back to Barb now. And then we also have Rob McKean. He showed up.
oh,
So-
I'm sorry. Were you done with the introductions?
Yes, I'm having trouble looking at these to get who's actually here.
Oh, okay.
That's why I missed you. I'm sorry, Barb. Go ahead.
Are
Oh,
these
okay.
times, these book launch times?
Could we go back to
Eastern-
Barb? I'm sorry, Karen, just a minute. Can we finish with the introductions and then we'll go back to the book launches?
All
Okay,
right,
Barb, could I get yours and Rob's, and then we'll move into the book launches again.
Well, yeah, I thought I'd speak up. I didn't know if you can see me. I can't see. I can see everyone, but I don't know if you can see me.
we can
We can
see.
see you.
Oh, okay. I can't see myself, but anyway. Okay, my name is Barb Dubos, and I'm from Camel, Ohio. I was raised in Campbell. It's called Camel, like the animal, but Campbell. And I live in Boardman. This is my midlife college degree came from Youngstown State University. I got that at midlife, and that's when I started. After I taught composition, I was always reading true life stories, biographies, had nothing to do with fiction. And I started taking fiction writing classes and started writing short fiction. So I'm excited and elated about this opportunity to have this story printed. So I have to thank everyone in the whole project here. My dad worked 42 years at Republic Steel. And my great-grandfather was rooted in Youngstown area from 1901. So we're kind of a blue-collar group here. My great-grandfather, though, had saloons. So in my story, some of the scenery and things are kind of from doing research and kind of the whole time period thing, but we can get into that when we talk about stories. And that's it.
Okay, well, we'll move on quickly then to Rob McKean.
Hi, it's Rob McCain.
Rob McCain.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that, but that's the way
Okay.
the family always pronounced it. Well, I grew up in Western Pennsylvania and steel mill town. My father worked there. Both my grandfathers worked there. A J&L plant, 15,000 people at its peak. Uncle worked there, aunt worked there in the war, World War II. Had a brother work there as well, and I worked there. And it's all I've written about. I've been a writer for about 50 years. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe not make that public. And all I've written about pretty much is Western Pennsylvania, the mill towns in Western Pennsylvania.
Oh,
I've had 2 novels published and a collection of short stories, and I've got at least 5 manuscripts on the shelf that are looking for a publisher. And among them, there's probably 500 or 600 characters in this one small town, which I call Ganego. And it's loosely based on a real town. And my fiction runs from the mid-30s. I have a novel that's a historical novel that takes place in 1937, a labor strike, which actually did happen, and up to present day. So I don't live in that area anymore. I don't have any relatives left that way. I don't think back that way. I live in Boston. I'm married. We live in Boston. But my heart never left Western Pennsylvania, I guess you should say. So that's my intro.
Very nice. Yeah, I hadn't heard as much about you. I know a lot more about some of the others. Joe Pete, are you with us? Joe? Hello, Joe. Calling Joe. He logged back in. Let's see. Yeah, he's with us, but he may be otherwise. Well, as soon as I can get him involved, he can say a few words about himself. But others were eager to know about, oh, if I can just minimize this, there we go. The book launches, okay, we've got the one on the 20th at 1:30 at Mount Lebanon Public Library. Karen, you had a question.
Are those times Eastern?
Yes, those are Eastern time. Yes.
Yes,
Thank
I'm giving only the Eastern times. And then the
Thank
one on, well, we can't go to that unless you're in that area. That one is not,
Well,
hybrid.
she offered to Zoom though.
Yes,
but
that's
no, but the
Mount
one
Lebanon.
on Sunday isn't a hybrid. It's only F to F, face to face. So the Mount Lemon one, yes, that's a hybrid. Now, the one that I have set up in Tucson is also a hybrid. And that one is in April. And it will be, let me get it right here. 2 p.m. That's Mountain Time. So that would be probably 3 hours later, 5 p.m. because that's in April, Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Eastern. And that one is Salt of the Earth Labor College. And I'll try to get their login as soon as I can. That one is April the 6th on Sunday, 6th of April, 2 p.m. my time, local time, where we're holding it. And then the one again in Whiting is June 1st, and that one will be 2 p.m. Then we also have something in the works for Indiana University Northwest. They're going to be a radio podcast, and it's their series of literary readings or literary discussions with Garen Seichel, the professor of creative writing at Indiana University Northwest, is going to have that. We don't have a date on that one. And then Gary and East Chicago are also planning events, but they haven't set them up yet with a date. We're hoping that it can be during the period when I'll be in town there. So that would be last week of May and first week of June. I have a lot of comments and stuff piling up in chat, but I'll have to wait till I'm not sharing to get to those. Maybe while you tell about something about your story, how are we doing on time? Who's doing our timekeeping?
Oh, no, I was just timing everybody for 2 minutes on their intro.
Okay, but I mean,
And I think you're over 2 minutes on the updates.
okay,
I
but what
think
time
everybody's
is it?
interested.
How long has the meeting lasted so far?
Half an hour.
Okay, so then we could give maybe 10 minutes to 10-15 to getting to know you and about your story. And I won't call on people. You can just raise your hands or something.
Well, I'll do mine first because I have to tap off and then somebody else is
Okay,
gonna
yeah,
have
go
to
ahead, do yours
keep. So my story is called The Girl from Bethel Park, and Bethel Park is a neighborhood in the suburbs of Pittsburgh. And it's kind of like about two social classes meeting. So it's these kids from the south side of Pittsburgh whose parents all work in the steel mills, and they meet up with these girls from the suburbs, and they find out that people from the suburbs might seem like they live differently than them, but their lives are actually kind of the same, and they have problems of their own. So that's what my story is about. And I'm sorry I have to tap off and can't hear about everybody else's, but I'll read them.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. And who wants to go next? And that didn't
Gloria,
tell us.
I'd like to go next if I can. This
Go
Karen.
ahead. Yeah,
Yeah,
Karen, go ahead. Go
because
for
I
it.
have a commitment in about 20 minutes.
Okay,
I
sure.
can hop off and hop back on.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so my story, Granny's Traveling Trunk, really got started from a nonfiction piece that I was writing about my family's migration from Alabama. And then when I joined this group, I decided I fictionalized the story. Takes place in East Chicago on a day where we're holding a bazaar, and you get to meet all of the characters and shopkeepers. And I tried to introduce the cultural aspects of East Chicago, which I really do think is one of the benefits of growing up there, is the diverse culture. So I'm introducing characters through their attendance at this town, all town picnic or gathering. And it's my first publication, so I'm really excited about it. And again, want to thank Gloria for her leadership, especially taking me into the fiction realm, because I really saw that I could tap into creativity, which is not really there when you're dealing with facts and memoir and that sort of thing. So that is pretty much Granny's Traveling Trunk. But the name comes from my grandmother taking trips back and forth to Alabama to bring relatives up to East Chicago to work in the steel mills. And so that's where the traveling comes in. And then it concludes at her funeral, where lots of family members are talking about their life in East Chicago, as well as the work that they did in the steel mills. So that's Granny's Traveling Trunk.
Well, thank you very much, Karen, and I think it's a fascinating story. It's a family saga, and one that many people will relate to because of the nature, and I don't want to be a spoiler here, but the nature of what's involved.
Yeah.
I wonder if Joe Pete can talk yet, or maybe he could type what he would like to say into the chat. And that way we could at least hear a little bit about what inspired Joe to write his story. You know, Joe, you can always put it in the chat if you can access your chat, even if you can't talk. So hopefully he will be able to do that. I do have to go back to share screen to see what else what were the other things that we were going to know. Okay, well, anybody else want to tell something about your story?
Could I just say, and I don't know, Gloria, when you'll have time for this, but for me, it's very important that I get to talk a little bit about the publicity. So after we get to know
Yeah, go
everybody's
ahead.
story,
It doesn't
could I
have
talk
to
about
be-
huh?
It doesn't have to be about your story. Go ahead and do the
Oh,
publicity.
well, I want to talk about my story.
Well, you can do both.
Okay.
Go story first and then publicity. How about that?
Okay, because the publicity is, I set up a Facebook page, and I want, how many of you are on Facebook?
I am.
Okay, so we should friend each other, and then I posted several times that this book has come out on my Facebook page. And high school friend, and think of all the people you have there. High school friends, all your friends from college, your friends from any writing groups and all your jobs, and everybody who always said since you were in the 3rd grade, gosh, you're the best writer. You should go to New York and write about us, or something like that, okay? So think of all those people, put it on your Facebook page, and then we have a Facebook page. I just posted a picture of the Gary tornado this morning, saying that Children of Steel has, is writing up a storm or something like that. Look what happened
Could I
in Gary.
interject, Joan? That's
Yeah.
a good point, that they don't just have to put in things about their story, but this Children of Steel Facebook page, they could put events that are being reported or
Yes.
things that are related to their story that have to do with where they're from. Because see, our collection is place related. That's the one thing that most people are very inhibited about covering in their fiction. We are in a very low ebb of repute about the Rust Belt. So people are just not feeling able to write about it. Many people are very inhibited about writing about the place.
Yes.
So I put a lot of stuff on my own Facebook page about Chicago and about East Chicago and the region, just so all these people in Arizona will realize it's real and it does exist. It's not the stereotypes and caricatures they're getting out here in the news. And it is.
So-
We have a very caricatured view of people. So there.
So what I want you to really use the Facebook page, and I intend over time to take everybody's bio from the book, and I'd love to have photos of you, or if you go to Pittsburgh or go back to Whiting or Gary and you take a picture of a steel mill, or you have something from your family at the steel mill, post that or send it to me, and I'll make sure it's posted with a little line so we could keep this alive. So people will be very happy to know you're in a book, and there are so many possibilities with this Facebook group. And I'm going to I think I have everyone's email, so I'll be bothering you all about that. I didn't talk about myself very much. I have a long history in public relations, public affairs, political, worked for the state and city government, ASPC, just huge amount of public relations work and radio and television work in New York City. And I do have a husband who's a newspaper editor and writer and 2 cats. But anyway, so what we have to do, we must use the Facebook page, and we have to friend everybody, and and you'll be surprised if you use it right. We'll hear from all your high school friends and all of the people who went to your reunion. If you have anybody's email them and say, hey, we've got a book about us growing up. That's what I'm doing with all my my high school friends, and people are actually responding. They're very happy, and then they sign up for the Facebook group or whatever. So that is, you know, with the link to the book, the Facebook book page has a link to the book, and all that kind of stuff.
I
So
see Don has his hand raised. He probably has a question he wants to ask you.
I see a yellow hand.
Yeah. Hi, Joan.
Hi.
I know the editor of the United Steelworkers newspaper, and I also have relations with the ICD, the Institute for Career Development, which was set up by the Steelworkers Union, and ICD is the one that produced the Steel and Roses play, and so I can contact them. But I wonder if, with your experience, that you might also want that contact information.
Well, you know what? We'll get together. We'll email each other after, you know,
Okay.
after this week. We'll email each other. So that's
Okay.
really wonderful. That's so exciting. And that you already got to share the story of what we grew up with and what our parents and grandparents worked at. Yeah. So that's really great. I think I've said enough. I will be, as you see, that I'm so glad that at least something I said stirred somebody to think of a connection, and Gloria's been thinking of these connections. So I'll be emailing you about that, keeping after you, if that's all right with you. We'll think of all sorts of clever things.
Yeah, could I ask John a question? How did we get together originally, John? I don't even remember anymore.
Oh my gosh. I think it was through when you were beginning to do writing workshops in East Chicago.
Oh,
And
okay.
I was living in Evanston at the time, and I heard about it, and I drove down to East Chicago to, you know, see what you were doing, because
Oh,
it was
yeah.
interesting to me.
Well, but it certainly panned out, as they say. It
For
grew
sure.
and ran with itself. Okay, so now back to my weird agenda here. I am really having to rely on this thing.
Can I
Okay.
talk about my story? Just, I have it written
Oh,
down,
go
so it won't
ahead.
take long.
Go
Okay.
ahead. Talk about your story.
So my story is Blue Collar Land. Okay. It's a girl's version of A Christmas Story. All right. Most of you know about Gene Shepard, who grew up in East Chicago and then lived in Hessville and went to Hammond High. And they play his film now 24 hours around the clock on New Year's Day, I guess, or Christmas Day, A Christmas Story. And they end up in Camlands and downtown Hammond, which was just about the only Chinese restaurant around when some of us were growing up. I see John. Camlands, right? So I grew up in Whiting, where my father was a city attorney, and on a still summer night, you could hear the screeching and grinding of the freight train wheels as they were coupling and uncoupling. And from then I've loved atonal music, because it's sort of like a lullaby to me, and the moan of the stills drifted over the air every night. So Blue Collar Land is a girl's version of A Christmas Story, because I was so mad at Hemingway and all those folks, and it was always about boys, and boys were writing the story. So mine is a little girl's version of this, and like a boy would want an air rifle to shoot his eyes out, right? This was the whole theme of A Christmas Story. Now, what would a girl want? She would want something for someone else, right? And she wants her daddy to stop drinking. So this piece in our anthology is made up of the first chapters of a fictionalized memoir that follows Leslie, our heroine, for a year. She's in the 5th grade. There are bingo games in the church basement, the 4th of July parade, wakes and funerals, a weeping Blessed Virgin statue in the back of the church, a flying saucer sighting, Friday night fried shrimp and frog's legs at the local tavern, a thunderstorm blowing in over the lake, the smells of the slag heaps and soap factory, and a trip to the dunes beach. So those are some of the things that we follow her for a year, where she wishes and prays and works toward getting a Christmas present for Christmas that her daddy stops drinking.
Well, that's very moving. And I'm sure when a lot of you haven't had the chance to read the book yet, but you're gonna love we're gonna love all the stories, I think. And I wish some of the others who aren't here could have been here. They did some fantastic stories as well. Well, just a fast word about the one that brings up the rear, the story that I wrote, which is Sprightly Aphrodite, is based on a real Greek American woman that I knew who did ride the bus. And she was a flamboyant character, and her real name was Cleopatra. So this woman was, Dickensian. She was a large woman, not super fat, but, imposing, tall, well-built, large, and dressed to the hilt. And she worked in the downtown headquarters of Inland Steel. She worked her way up through the clerical work and but she didn't want to get her car messed up and dinged, so she would take the shoreline and she rode the bus. She didn't need to ride the bus, but she did ride the bus. And it's just the events, how she made it mythic, where people think everything's a shame about where we're from. Everything is sad and not nice, like Evanston, not nice like the North Side, and it's just grim where we're from. The people from the North Side actually live in another alternate universe from the part that we're from, and I call it island universes. So this is always considered not material for anything creative. It's all up there, or it's in some other part of the country. No, my contention in this story, if it may have a contention, is it is the person who is writing, not where they are writing. And it was the wonderful imaginative power of this woman to make every site that they were passing kind of mythic, and the kids didn't know how to take her. They were scared of her at first on the bus. There were some children there. So anyway, but that's the background of my story, and it's the end, because I thought, in a way, it says what we are all trying to do in this book, is to what James Joyce said in his own way about Dublin, which was a real shitty backwater at the time he was writing Ulysses. I am going to forge the conscience of my race. And he didn't mean that racially, but that they had no presence in culture. And kind of that's what this last story is about. Now, going on, I see Karen has to go, and we say farewell to Karen, and we'll see you soon. See you later, alligator. The last thing I just want to do before we have to leave, because we don't want to drag this on and take up everybody's Sunday, is that we have theater people. You've heard from some of them. I am a theater person. I've had plays produced and read. I've entered many contests. I haven't really done much in the contest. But we also have Mary Lou Cowley, who's extremely gifted, and she placed in the Lincoln Center playwright competition, I think. Mary Lou Cowley is her name, and she works in Whiting. I don't think she lives in Whiting. She's an analyst for BP. And she wasn't able to make it today, but the reason I'm bringing her in is we have 3 of us, and I thought we could have a workshop or 2 on adapting your story into a 1-act play. And what we could get out of that, and it would be rather short, so you group 3 or 4 of them together. But we have so many of us, look at the screen. What we would have to do is have one group of plays maybe be the Pennsylvania bunch, and then another group of plays be the Chicago, Northwest Indiana bunch. We might even get 2 groups of plays out of the Chicago, Northwest Indiana bunch. And just to keep it in mind, not everybody will be attracted to this idea or want to try it. But for those who want to try it, it's another way, another whole manifestation of your creativity, to see it actually embodied with actors on the stage. So that is my dream, that we could have a workshop, and those who want to go for it will learn how to adapt their short stories. And if some of you are hiding, lurking in the shadows, then you do have theater background or some experience in writing plays, be sure to let us know. And any other?
Whose story is next? Who wants to summarize their story?
Oh, we didn't
Harshan?
finish with the summarizing
No.
of stories. Okay,
No.
go ahead, Harshan. Valia?
Yeah. Okay. In 2016, Indiana was going to celebrate its bicentennial. And I thought that why not I write a poem about highlighting the contribution of the steel industry. So my poem, which was included in the Bicentennial Commission's newsletter, is entitled Volcanoes of Northwest Indiana. So I'm just going to read the first stanza of it. From spoon that fetches you food to needle that stitches your wound, all came from my womb, bloodied, exhausted, mother of volcanoes. Yes, I am the blast furnace of Northwest Indiana.
Wonderful. And it's very moving.
And can I just add one more thing? This is a side note, nothing to do about me. But today, Joseph Pete wrote an article about my daughter, Anu Walia.
That's your daughter? I read that article and told Gloria about it. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh my
your
God.
daughter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Tell us about it. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful.
So, because it's relevant to the one story that somebody told before about the boys going to the suburb from Gary and the dating, somebody from the suburb. So this is also about Gary, a lady who works for cleaner, and then she's hired to work in the suburb. And so it is the story about her as a fly on the wall, at the same time to slowly get into the lives of these people and observe it. And this film will be shown on world premiere at South by Southwest Film Festival in Austin on March 9th. So I think this is also relevant to the area, and the story
Yeah.
from here.
Oh, definitely. So this story actually takes place in Gary, a lot of
In
it.
Gary, yes, in Gary.
Oh, fantastic. So if
But
you can
she had, but
get
she
us
had to.
some information on that, and
Yeah.
I'll send it to everybody.
Okay, I'll send it to you today.
Is
Yeah.
it possible to watch it? Will it be online? The festival will be online, or it's just it
No,
won't be?
what happens is that first it goes through the film festivals, and then after that, then if some distributor picks it up, because it's a indie art film, so if some distributor picks it up, then it will be shown.
I read
Right.
about her
think-
today. Yeah, I read about her today. Don't be humble. I mean, she went to NYU Film School and then she's won awards all over the country in New Orleans and this and that. And she like all of us, but she's really made it big. She's drawn this story from Gary and from the Calumet region. It's amazing.
Yeah, this is amazing. And I knew about his daughter for a while. I didn't know that Valia's daughter was, this was the one you were referring to in the paper. If I had seen the article, I would have recognized the name. So this has been, well, let's congratulate.
I'll put it on Facebook. I'll put a
Yeah, I
link to the
can't, I
story
used all my
on
free
Facebook.
articles, so I can't read it. That's the problem. So if someone could cut and paste the text, that would be more helpful. Like send us an email where you cut and paste the text.
It's a very
I
long
only get
story.
So many free articles per month, and they're used up.
Thank you,
Maybe,
John.
Alia, if you could do that, because I can't read it till next month. I think is when I have my next freebies. I just can't afford.
It's only March 3rd.
I know, but they're all used up. Evidently, I tried to read some. I've been trying to read a lot of these stories you keep telling me about, and I used up my freebies. Okay, so this has been wonderful with many surprises and other arts. This is an inter-art, multimodal group now. We're not just in print fiction. We have the possibilities of stage. We have a very talented daughter of the member of one of our group who's actually doing film. So that covers 3 different genres. And we're so proud of her. This is an amazing bit of news. It's good it came near the end. You remember what happens at the end. Any other remarks before
We have Patrick and Rob. I don't think
Oh, we
you've
still
spoken
haven't
about your.
covered everybody? Oh, okay. Patrick, I think we covered Rob, didn't we?
No, I would like,
Patrick, who wants
Okay,
to?
I'll be real quick. I
Okay.
won't take up much time. The only thing I'll say is that my story is 25 years old now. I wrote it in grad school, and I had the title for many years before I had the story. So I had Smokestack Polka as a title swimming around in my head for about 5-6 years, and finally wrote a story to accompany it. So, and if just a personal note, for those of you who are from East Chicago, you might be familiar with the last name Nicosia.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah, my family was very close with the Nicosia families. They were from Chicago as
You had
well.
a mixed trail, but I was in class with Greg, the son of the mayor.
Oh.
Chicago, Washington. He didn't come much. He was mostly in Florida, but I was officially in class with him. Anyway, yes.
Patrick, could you give us just a couple lines about what your story is about?
Yes, it's about a family, a working class family in Joliet, Illinois, who's trying to survive after the death of the patriarch of their small family. So
yeah,
I hate to say this.
hard.
I should.
Could I cut off Joan
Sure,
a minute? Just
go.
a minute, Joan. Okay. I really want to say a few more words to Patrick, because I felt that was such a moving story. Many people were truly touched, and it has potential, especially that one, for I think a stage presentation. I'm thinking like Eugene O'Neill. It's got that kind of real grittiness to it.
thank you.
Yeah, and I wanted to get that said. And also, I want to apologize. It seems like I'm cutting people off, but in a sense, you set me up, people, because half of you were discussing your stories as you introduced yourself. So I keep feeling it's already been done. Okay, so let's move on to Rob, please.
yeah.
I just wanted to say, I shouldn't say this, but Patrick, your story was my favorite of all of them. They were all great. But yours just really, I just was just amazed. It was
Thank you.
That's
such a
right. You
wonderful
shouldn't
story.
say that, but people will have their preferences. So,
Thank you.
and I'm glad that people enjoyed it as much as they did. Rob, we want you to feel like the orphan of the storm here, Rob.
Yeah, I'm waiting. I'm always polite. My story is Man Down. It's a Charlie Rankin story, and it's part of a collection of Charlie stories. It's a manuscript I'm shopping around at the moment. I've been writing Charlie stories since I started writing decades ago. And this takes place in the mill, in the steel mill and blast furnace department. And it's where I worked for a while when I worked in the steel mill. And it's Charlie meets a very old laborer. He's a countryman. And he's sort of a pariah of the labor gang. It's a maintenance labor gang. And they're all sort of characters on the maintenance gang. And Charlie befriends him and actually meets his family and attends. The man is sick. His name is Hoot. Hoot is sick and dies. And Charlie attends his funeral. I think what I want to say about it is I met, when I worked in the mill, I met a lot of older laborers. They didn't have to retire. There was no real retirement age, and some of them just went on working and working. And they're very slight, frail men often, and they would just sort of float through, and they'd be assigned real easy duty. They'd be in charge of one restroom or two restrooms or something like that, or a little bit of sweeping. But they were fascinating because they had been in that mill for so many decades, and had huge memories of what had happened in the mill, in the labor strikes and so on. And so this is Charlie's. The whole book is a coming of age story of Charlie, and he's in his early 20s. He's quit college. He wants to save up enough money to go to Europe and write. And what he's doing, what Charlie's doing throughout the whole book and this story as well, he's collecting other people's stories. Charlie is a storyteller, but he's also a story relater. He picks up other people's stories. And I'm delighted to be part of the collection, to be a member of the group. And I was delighted to have this story published. This is a difficult story to publish. It had been sent out any number of times. And so I'm pleased. And I have to congratulate Gloria and the rest of you as well. Okay.
Rob, my dad worked in the field forces at Inland Steel, and that is almost precisely what you're talking about. They went all over fixing everything. So I think that would be they called them at Inland Steel at that time, the field forces.
Okay.
And he liked it because he went all over. But now that you mention it, he was very slight, he was wiry and very thin. And, he sort of fits the profile you're giving.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very interesting individuals. I mean, they just were unique. It was part of my growing up to come in contact with such people and get to know them.
Yeah, well, thank you. That adds a lot to what I had picked out of the story, but now I can equate that with that thing that my dad worked in. So thank you very much. And did I miss anybody else? I'm feeling so guilty. Joan keeps reminding me that you missed this one, you missed that one. Go ahead.
Can I say one sentence about Consumed, my
Yes,
story?
please do.
Okay, yes, it's a historical story. It's set back in 1916 or so, early 1900s. And it's really Roman and Olga. They are separated because the men came over. Historically, I did a lot of research. The average time was 6 years that they were separated between a man and woman. So Roman and Olga meet and their struggles then play out in the story.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. That one to me reminded me of Theodore Dreiser a bit. Did anybody else think of Theodore Dreiser? Well, you'll get it. I mean, I don't want to give away any things, but Theodore Dreiser was all about women who end up going degree by degree into a life that isn't maybe what the middle class would prefer women to be. And I got that feeling that this woman, you could say she had choice, but did she really have choice? So go ahead, Joan.
Oh, as a PR person, thinking about each story and how it could be publicized, Barbara, I mean, immigrants, it's all over the news, and the touching story that's universal, not from 1910, but from 2024. So it's really the character of the woman with her Olga. I have an aunt Olga. It's really the internal thoughts of Olga and her experiences are amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be published, and everybody's story. I read through the book and I really feel like I'm part of a community, because most people don't understand this steel blue collar life. And I really felt like I have now a group of friends.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. And I've always had that feeling. What'll really give you that feeling is going through and becoming a professor, or getting a PhD in literature. Boy, does that give you the feeling that you're outside of culture. So it's not like having a different race or doing gender issues. You're really outside in a different way when you're going and trying to go through school. Okay, so anybody else that I have missed so crassly, not included? I'm sorry. Anybody else? Any other? Oh, John, go ahead.
So time hangs a Louis. So growing up in Gary, it was a very surreal experience. I grew up on a farm, and at 5 moved into Gary, and this was a time of my father owned Zastek Television in Etna, and I had always been. I was born in '47. Had always been around a television, And so part of the story takes place in Gary, in Etna, and I lived behind the Little League field. So the whole story is about, most of it's about baseball and my experience playing baseball in that field, but also television and the themes from the mid-50s, which were the flying saucer scare, science fiction, Twilight Zone, early television, science fiction on television, and time travel. And so
Beautiful.
the two characters in the play, story, are me and a longtime friend of mine, Jim Wytrolic. We grew up together there, and so it's basically a sci-fi twist on our real life experience.
I think that's wonderful. My uncle was Uncle Teddy Gore was the TV repairman, and I don't know if he had a shop, but he went around with his station wagon with a lot of TVs in it. We ended up having TVs in every room, and he had TVs in every room. So I really related to that part. And also, you know, that's technology. So you could do more things, cutting edge technology kinds of things, you know, interweaving the techno history with the region, because our region isn't a nature region. It's all technology and man-made landscape, the surroundings, you know, it has a lot to do with technological things. I used to do industrial folk art and take them to like the Gold Coast Art Fair in Chicago. And that was a reflection, that was a protest, because nobody thinks of folk art as being industrial. So yeah, magical realism, what Joan says, that's really it. Yeah, you have captured that in your story. So, and again, those who haven't had the chance to read them yet, you really got a pleasant surprise coming.
I'm trying to get my socks
Yeah,
on.
Sharon, do you want to say some more about
the other pair?
Leaving meeting?
Yeah.
Sharon, are you there? Oh, I guess she's dropped off. Okay, well, she's having some issues and some health things she's taking care of, so maybe she's bounced off for a while. Anyway, I think we're going to have to wrap it up because people do want to get on with the rest of their day. Any concluding comments or wonderful, you know, statements? Yeah. Oh, I have to bring our little mascot on as we get ready to leave. This is Mr. Alligator with his banjo. You all see him. And so, are we ready to go yet, gang?
The Calumet region, he's the Calumet River alligator, I guess.
Yeah, he's a mutant. He's a mutant alligator who knows how to play the banjo. And he would have 3 eyes, but you can't see the third one.
There are all kinds of mutants, let me tell you, in the region, right? There are all kinds of mutants around us. Gloria, I just want to acknowledge your intellectual discipline, your knowledge of literature and rhetoric and all these, and science fiction, all these things. We're so fortunate, to have met you. Yeah.
He's so embarrassed. Look, you're embarrassing the alligator.
Thank you very much.
But thank you. He says thank you. And this is my wonderful thing I used to do with my mother when, as I said, some of you heard it, when she was in decline, I would call her and we'd always end with, "See you later, alligator." In a while, crocodile. So to all of you, I want to say, see you later, alligators. And you're supposed to say in answer.
After a while, crocodile.
All right. Okay. So,
You're my habit, Bunny Rabbit.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Nice to
Bye-bye.
meet you.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
again. Good job.
Good job, everyone. So, okay, well, we'll all be in touch, and some of us will be in touch with some of us. And thank you, Barb. You did a great job being here, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And I don't want to shut anybody off before they're ready, so it's getting down to the wire here. Okay. See you later, Barb. See
All
you
right,
later,
bye-bye.
Sharon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Button now. There it is.